Hey guys, wouldn't League be super easy if you could just mind control everyone to do exactly what you wanted? On command, you get your opponent to waste their spells and then you punish them for free. What a nice life that would be, right? Oh wait, that's what I do on a regular basis. I'm about to teach you the technique I use to make this happen every game. And the secret is not from something any regular League guide could ever tell you. What I'm about to teach you today is something called footsies. Some concepts in League are so much easier to teach if you look at things through the perspective of a different game. So today I'm going to teach you about footsies, one of the most important fighting game concepts that translates directly to League. But what exactly is footsies? Urban Dictionary described it like this: a strategy used in fighting games like Street Fighter. It uses ground normal moves as pokes to keep an opponent at a certain distance. The goal is to move within distance to land your own moves and also to move out of the range of your opponent's moves. And trust me, even if you don't know anything about fighting games, you'll easily follow what's going on. So let's take a look at a Street Fighter match to show you what footsies looks like and how OP it is to outplaying your opponent. Alright, so you see how both characters are moving back and forth. When one moves back, the other moves forward and vice versa. They're not really doing anything. Well, right now they're in neutral. Neutral is just a state where they both don't have any significant advantage or pressure on the other. And with the use of footsies, they're going to try and win the neutral. How does footsies help them win the neutral? Well, footsies is walking into their range where they could hit you with something, or in League's terms, an ability, and out of it to try and bait you into whiffing. In League, neutral would be when you both don't have a CS to go for and you have all of your abilities up. Nobody has an advantage there if we're simplifying it like this. We're going to get deeper into this soon though. In this match, notice how when the boxer character on the left whiffs this punch, the character on the right, Guile, sweeps him because he walked out of the range so the punch whiffed. This is called a whiff punish, and it's extremely important in League. This is basically what you're trying to set up through the use of footsies. So let's jump into a game where I'm playing Lux for Syndra and Diamond so I can show you. Right at the start of the lane, we're in neutral, where we both don't have any advantage or pressure on the other, and we have our one ability up, and you can see the footsies game. I'm moving in and out of Syndra's Q range to try and bait it, and it works perfectly. Now, she just whiffed her ability that she had to walk up into range of it to land, and my abilities are longer range. Now I can use my E right away and barely tag her on the way out. Boom, whiff punish. When talking about League, a lot of people like to say that players have certain playstyles, but Dopa has always said the same thing. There's no playstyles, it's just right or wrong. Me whiff punishing the Syndra was just correct and it needed to happen. This is the issue with low elo. You guys let the enemy mid whiff abilities in front of your face non-stop and you don't whiff punish them. Just like in fighting games, if you don't whiff punish, you can't win. Now in League, footsies actually gets you more of a reward than in a fighting game, I would say, because when someone whiffs an ability, that ability is down for a longer amount of time than someone's move in a fighter. So baiting out abilities with footsies is essential to laning and basically can win neutral for you. Obviously it's more complicated than this, but we're scratching the surface. Something difficult about fighters though is that there is no CS or towers or mana or anything that you can play around to make footsies easier. In League though, the core fundamental of laning is playing around CS. In this same game, I'll show you a mistake by this Syndra because she didn't follow that fundamental. Notice here I have no last hits to get. The wave is pushing to me. I was playing this game on stream and I said, watch, I'm going to walk up and bait out her Q. So I walked up into her Q range and just turned around preemptively. I didn't wait to see her Q animation. Animations are too fast for you to react to them. You need to be preemptively moving. And sure enough, she uses the Q and wastes it. If I had my E here, I could whiff punish her for this. She shouldn't be getting baited into using Q here because I have no last hits to get. So I just made her use her mana and cooldown for nothing. Then just a few seconds later, another perfect example of footsies. And it's an entirely new concept. First, let's look at what it looks like in a fighting game like Street Fighter. Guile on the left is trying to catch the boxer walking forwards because Guile has a range advantage, just like in this match of Lux vs Syndra. So Guile uses this move, then it whiffs, and Balrog whiff punishes, just like we just talked about. Now, if we move over to the Lux vs Syndra gameplay, I notice Syndra hits level 2. I know she wants to abuse her level 2 advantage, so she has to walk at me. She's out of range, so I'm going to throw out a counter poke. That's what Guile tried to do in the previous clip. Counter poke is simply just throwing an ability that you think they will run into because they have to approach you. As expected, she runs into my E and I run out of range of her combo. Seems like she has no counterplay, right? Well, if she hit level 2 and realized right away that she was out of range to combo me, she could walk towards me then away to bait out the E, and like I said before, whiffing something in this game is a big deal. When you can't use that ability for 10 seconds like a Lux E or even something smaller like 4 seconds for Yasuo Q. But because I knew I was out of her range and that she hasn't shown me that she would bait out my abilities yet, which we'll get into in a second, I knew to throw my E as a counter poke. But now let's talk about animations, as that's another thing that translates from fighters to League. In League, last hitting a minion with an auto or using an ability locks you into an animation where you can be punished if someone autos you at the same time or uses an ability that outranges you. Here's an example of it happening in Street Fighter. Guile uses an ability that locks him in place, and the boxer hits him out of it because he was completely locked into that animation, just like with autos in League, and a lot of abilities. This concept is actually the main reason I like playing Zed into Ryze so much. Ryze has long animations on his abilities, so if Zed ults him, and Ryze tries to use E into W to root Zed and run away, Zed can just press Q as soon as he comes out of his ult, and Ryze will basically be hit by all of the Qs because he can't move while casting any of his abilities. And the way his kit works, he has to use multiple abilities at once. If we look at my gameplay of Diana vs Zed, I see Zed is looking to walk up and grab this last hit. So that's when I will throw my Q and poke him with it since he's locked in place from his auto. That's what happened here in its simplest form, but there's actually more to it. Notice I walked back behind my minions to throw it. I did this for multiple reasons. First, if I just walk at Zed and make it obvious that I'm going to contest his last hit, he will either auto the CS to try and hit me with Q, or he'll try and throw the Q through the CS and hit me at the same time. Instead, I walk away to bait Zed into walking up to it, and if he uses Q, I'm at the max range, so I can walk out of range of his Q before it hits me. Then right after this, notice I walk into range to bait out ZQ, but I sidestep instead of walking backwards. This is the element that League has that something like Street Fighter doesn't. You can only move forward and back, but in League, you can move to the side too. And this is another part of footsies. You want to move to the side where they are throwing a skill shot that's thin and fast. ZQ or Ezreal Q is much different than Lux E or Syndra Q. Now, I can't whiff punish him with an ability here, right? But in League, we're not just attacking health pools like in a fighting game. So when he whiffs, I can punish by using that time to walk up and hit minions, and he can't punish me with his Q. Then, as I go to last hit this minion, I do the same thing since I know he's going to try and poke me with Q as I go for the last hit. I sidestep the Q, then auto the minion. Because I just used this time to push the wave, this will lead to a level 2 and 3 advantage, which you should know by now is a big deal and can win the lane for me alone. When I'm about to hit level 2, I throw my Q through a CS to hit him and hit 2, then level up my E and jump in right away to abuse my advantage. After I hit him with an auto, I walk away since my auto is on cooldown. Then when I know he's going to turn around, since if he autos me at this point, my minions will win for me, and he knows that, that's when I auto him. This doesn't really translate to fighting games, but it's very footsie-esque, and it's an important trading concept that applies even to ranged champions. But in this next example, I'm level 3 and Zed doesn't have W, so I'm looking to hit him with Q and go in for a trade. You can see us both moving back and forth. He's trying to bait out my Q and I'm trying to catch him, messing up his spacing, and through good footsies, I catch him with it, and that leads to a big chunk of damage when he walks up for CS. Then the same thing happens again, which leads into him having about 40% health. So with 2 more Qs here, catching him off guard from bad spacing, I get 2 solid chunks of his HP to the point where he's calling his jungler for help. I know Eve can't reach me, even if she flashes to proc the charm, so I just keep walking until my Q is up. Then I turn and hit Zed with Q and jump to him to finish him off, then start kiting away to my jungler. Notice how all of this happened. Almost every trade is from a footsies concept because that's how this matchup is. That's how playing versus Diana is in general. You have to know how to play around her Q range as it's her most important ability. High level players can easily bait it or dodge it, which is huge since Diana is useless without her Q. To really make things clear, let's move back to the game where I'm Lux vs Syndra. I try to hit Syndra with an E, but I miss. So now she has the ability advantage. But she should save that for when I go for a last hit, right? Instead, I want to make her use her important abilities on me before I have a last hit to go for. So let's play some footsies. I'm going to walk at her into her max or Q range and immediately turn around because by doing this, I'm basically faking pressure. I'm not actually a threat to her here, but it seems like I am, and it baits out her stun just like I wanted. You see how easy it is? This part is easy, the hard part is learning the ranges of all the different abilities, and that just comes with time. But anyways, if we keep going, as I think her Q is coming up, I walk at her to bait her into trying to hit me with Q, but I turn around and throw E. Remember, like we said earlier, a counter poke. As expected, she runs right into the E and I stay out of range of her Q. Now I know she wants to reset on this next wave. So when she wastes her Q on this minion because she's afraid of me, I'm ready to punish when she goes for the next CS with my E. She should have gave this CS to bait out my E, because then I wouldn't have kill pressure. But she doesn't, and then she uses her W and Q on the wave, trying to force the wave to crash, but I'm already on top of her at this point, ready to punish. And just like in the Diana vs Zed game, all of this was just the result of good footsies, winning me small trades, and they added up. Lux isn't the strongest laner, so I have to win this way. Syndra couldn't really hit me with many skill shots because of the footsies. Alright, so we scratched the surface of footsies and how fighting games translate to League. Let's recap. First, we talked about what footsies are. Moving in and out of the enemy ability ranges to bait them out. If they miss the ability, you can whiff punish them or use that time to hit minions and push the wave. We talked about counter pokes, which is throwing an ability that you think they will walk into because they have to approach you. This is countered by baiting out the ability, which leads to ability advantages, which is basically winning neutral. Punishing the enemy's bad footsies or spacing leads to plays like the Diana vs Zed one and chokes them out of lane. Alright, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about skill capped. So we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of Premium League guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week with over 2,000 guides curated into over 270 courses. No one can compare. We've also sent Challenger players into ELO hell over 1,100 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted. The link's in the description below. Alright guys, so that's going to bring us to the end of this video. Like I said, we scratched the surface of this, but I hope you learned something from it, and we'll see you in the next one.